morning once again, and thank you for listening to the Haven Financial Group radio show this morning. Feel free to give us a call at 612-504-8400 anytime. Online, havenfinancialgroup.com. Visit our site. All kinds of things on there, classes, tools, or just give us a call and come on in. There's no cost for a consultation. Get to know us. We're going to get to know you and simply have a conversation, and that's really where it starts. So again, if anything resonates, we'd love to hear from you this week. But avoiding mistakes, we oftentimes talk about this in our last segment, mistakes that people make when they retire and how we can avoid some of these, right, Kim?
Right, so that you can stay retired. That's really been the goal of this show, talking about the things and the steps that you need to take to make sure that once you are retired, you stay that way. And outside circumstances have nothing to do with your personal retirement. So we do want to talk about some of those pitfalls that you want to avoid. And the first one, I think, is not having enough to last you through all of your retirement. And that's something that you need to address before you get to retirement, really.
And that could be for a variety of reasons. You started too late. You procrastinated. You didn't get started early, like we've talked about today. Could be the life events. Could be health. Some decisions you made earlier. Whatever it is, trying to get started early and avoid not having enough when it comes to that time frame. Avoiding the stock market. You know, I have an investment team of 12. We manage with Fidelity and Charles Schwab. We love that. We like the stock market. We manage a lot in the stock market. Some people avoid it completely, and that could be the wrong decision. Or the flip side of that is many people are head over heels in the stock market, and they shouldn't be. There should be a balance. There should be a discussion with this. This last week, we had a couple had no idea they were taking nearly the amount of risk that they were. Now, that doesn't mean bail on the market altogether, but create a more balanced portfolio, which we did for them. Avoiding it completely, that's not the right decision. However, I will tell you, we have folks that have no money in the stock market and have saved for retirement. They're not willing to, and they don't need to. So I always say it comes down to willingness, need, and ability. And how you answer those will really determine the right answer to what you should have or should not have in the market.
Yeah. And, I think it's really important for people. This is a good point, spot to say this, people to understand that your circumstances are different than your neighbors or your brothers or your brother-in-laws or whatever. Your retirement is different. So, just because your brother-in-law is in the stock market, a full-fledged doesn't necessarily mean you should be. And that's one of those things that sitting down with someone like the folks at Haven Financial Group really can help you, as opposed to sitting down with your brother-in-law.
Yeah, it's not one glove fits all. It's not.
No.
What your neighbor's doing, we're all wired differently. Is risk appropriate? Is it too much? Is it not enough? Avoiding it completely, again, that's a conversation we have. Some other ones, misconceptions that I see is applying for Social Security too early. Our job isn't to try to tell people to wait. That is not the goal. We teach these classes and we create Social Security reports individually because we want folks to make an educated decision, not to leave $182,000 by making the wrong decision by claiming it too early. And I see a lot of people when 70 to 75% are taking it right away at 62. For some of that's a high percentage. They're making the wrong decision. So we help with that decision making. Underestimating expenses. That's a big one. One, healthcare. I say it many times. The idea that when my spouse, if you're married, when the spouse dies, that the expenses are going to get cut in half. That rarely happens, Kim. That rarely happens that expenses get cut in half. Another one. Well, I'm going to work past I'm going to work till a certain age because that's when I'm going to work till. So setting this idea that you're in control of everything. Well, we're not in control of everything. And all of a sudden, health issues, pink slip, replaced by a younger person. I guess I didn't work till 68 like I planned on, and now it's 63. These things happen. Neglecting estate planning. Provision Law, Carrie, Keith, and Alexi are close estate planning partners. 85% of Americans do not have a competent estate plan. It's an important puzzle piece to retirement, and many people have been putting it off. Maybe don't put it off anymore and actually just get it done. Because what happens with lack of an estate plan can mean any sort of wealth transfer, small, medium, or large, may not happen in the way that you want it to happen, may be inefficient, tax inefficient, or simply be caught up in probate. We just taught a class on how to avoid probate. These are the types of classes, these are the types of things we want to avoid these mistakes at all cost.
Absolutely. I don't think you can stress that one enough, Larry. And I think people always think, well, it's not for me because I really don't have a big estate, so I don't need to really worry about that. Or people think, well, I have a spouse, and if I pass away, it'll just go directly to my spouse. There's all these misconceptions about estates, and I don't think any of them are true.
They're not. Trust only for rich people. Not true. Nothing's ever going to happen to me. Oh, really? Nothing's ever going to happen. But guess what? Life happens. Okay. These things happen. Not creating a budget. Maybe you should have a retirement budget. Or even if you're not in retirement, do you have a budget? Not planning for longevity. We talked earlier about longevity risk. It's real. Another one I see, unfortunately, with folks retire, they don't really have any hobbies. They don't have any goals in mind. And they lose the structure. They lose the purpose and eventually lose the drive. And that does not bode well for good health. So what do you want to do? What are your values? What do you want to do in retirement? Have you mapped this out? Another one is falling for financial scams. Okay. Fraud in general, but senior fraud specifically is worse every single year. It's why we taught fourth quarter 4 different classes in our education center. We had the local police sergeant in the fraud department come in and do 4 fraud prevention classes that were all full with a waiting list. And I sat in on it and I'm like, wow, this was a really good class, trying to avoid these scammers that are out there. And unfortunately, they get more clever all the time. So
sure,
we want retirement to be the golden years, just like they call them. Unfortunately,
I was just going to throw this in. One
Yes.
of them, one of the things that you and your team talk about here on the radio all the time too, is not understanding fully and being prepared to take care of all your healthcare issues. Long-term planning, for long-term healthcare, thinking that you can navigate the Medicare system easily and quickly. These are all things that you do not want to fall into that pit, because it can really be disastrous and expensive.
Very expensive. Healthcare, many people work till Medicare 65 age for the sake of healthcare, and I get it. But how do you bridge the gap if you retire earlier than that? Had that discussion this week. Healthcare is very difficult to navigate. Every year they make changes. Do you shop out your Medicare every year? You should. You should. We encourage it. You won't make changes every year, but you need to be aware of the changes so you're not paying and wasting money. And every year, again, things change. Life insurance reviews, we've encouraged that all year. Some people have found out where they've done it. They go, wow, I didn't know this was going to happen this soon. Unforeseen expectations that we were not made aware of because they wasn't explained. You mentioned long-term care. Most are ill-prepared for this, yet 70% of us are going to need some care. You might be listening and say, well, I'm self-funded. Maybe, but is that the right way to use all your own money? Or could you leverage that by having some sort of asset-based long-term care, hybrid long-term care? There are much better viable options in today's market that people are not aware of. They're thinking, oh, good grief, the old long-term care, traditional long-term care. We don't see that much anymore because it's way too expensive and they wouldn't pay. There's better options no matter if you have a little or a lot. You don't need to use all your own money, but you're right. These are the big things that people mess up on. And it's the goal of Haven Financial Group to educate, and by education, then help people make the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah, these are pitfalls you do not want to fall into and can be avoided. They can be avoided if you've got a partner who can educate you about them and help guide you through them. The number is 612-504-8400. Let me give that to you again. It's 612-504-8400. Give the folks at Haven Financial Group a call, whether it's today, tomorrow, this week, or when you're ready. I think you'll definitely be glad that you did.
Kim, good to be with you. 11 years we've been around here in July, 11 years, deeply rooted in the community, very big in education, and we appreciate you listening every single week. And Kim, we'll see you next week.